This is Albert Kaufman coming to you live from Portland, Oregon. I'm a social media teacher and email marketing teacher, and I am going to talk a lot about Facebook today and take your questions as well for those who are on the call. And yeah, I was going to broadcast to Facebook Live as well, but I think I'll skip that. Although, let's see, how long would that take? Let me just see if I can do that quickly. Give me 1 second here. Again, Albert Kaufman coming to you live from Portland, and we will talk about Facebook marketing, answer questions, and I'll be demoing a bunch of different ideas about Facebook on Facebook, which is kind of funny if you think about it. All right, so why don't we just get started? Here we are going into Facebook. And let's see, make sure I can do what I'm trying to do. All right, there's Facebook popping up, and there's one of the interesting things about doing a Facebook Live or any type of presentation about Facebook is that you never really know what you are going to see on Facebook while you're demoing. So just please be aware that we're going into some unknown territory. So let's see. First of all, just if anyone can't see Facebook right now, if you're not seeing this image of Elizabeth Warren, please let me know. And you should be able to see me scrolling through my news feed right now. Okay. And also, while I'm talking, if you have a question, you're welcome to go ahead and just unmute yourself and ask the question. I'm fine with taking questions as I go. All right.
I have a question.
Go ahead. Yeah.
Thank you. You said it's on Facebook Live.
Right.
Is that a section of Facebook or is that your page?
Right now, if you go to my personal page on Facebook, what we're doing is being projected there. So actually, what's happening on Facebook is what you're seeing right now on your screen, but it's with a little bit of a time delay. So we can switch over to that view if you'd like to see what that looks like. It should be this.
So Facebook Live is not a section of Facebook, or
It's a good question. I love the sound of like you're not knowing what exactly is going on. So here we are.
I hate Facebook.
It's okay. So here we are. Can you see that we are on Zoom together, you and I? But on Facebook, something else is happening. And in fact, 3 people are watching what we're doing right here. Right? Okay. So yeah, it's a very interesting question, and it's very tricky. And so when you're on Zoom, you have the ability to both have communication with the people that you're on Zoom with, but you can also be projecting that conversation or that experience to Facebook Live and also to to YouTube. So I could be doing that as well. And oftentimes you'll see like concerts, for instance, will be projected to multiple places at one time. In fact, you could be projecting to, I should say broadcasting. You can be broadcasting to multiple places at once. So I could be broadcasting my live event to Facebook Live, and via Facebook Live, it could be on a page, or it also could be in a group. It could be anywhere you want to be broadcasting to. And so then also to YouTube. And then I could also be using my phone to capture this and broadcast to Instagram. I could be broadcasting to Periscope, et cetera, et cetera. And sometimes, some musicians and probably other kinds of presenters present to multiple places at once frequently. This is not typical for me that I would be doing this, but here we are. All right, so I wanted to talk first about some things that I recommend that one doesn't do. So I'm going to demo a little bit on a page of mine. I'm going to use this Farm My Yard page. Excuse me. This is a project that I started a few years ago, and the idea is to connect up people who have lawns with people who have urban gardening skills. So I've on this page, which is also known as a business page or a fan page, you can see that I've got 3,200 followers. You can see, if you scroll down, as the admin for this page, the things that I see at the top are different from if I went to a page that I wasn't an admin of. So for instance, there's all this stuff about, you know, how to advertise and how to target people in my nearby area. And also, there's all sorts of other information about the page itself. So, and the reach that I've had, for instance. So my most recent post on here, I think, was maybe yesterday. And I have to scroll down to get to it. There it is. I published this. Actually, my friend Marisha published this. She wanted to talk about how she was going to be on the radio. Marisha is this permaculture expert. She's fantastic if you want to know about growing food for yourself or for a country. She's a good person to listen to and learn about. So as I mentioned before, on this page, I've got over 3,000 people who like the page. When I look at how many people were actually reached on this page, it was 73. There were 4 engagements. That means 4 people did something. You can see what they did here by clicking on post details. You can see someone clicked on love, et cetera, et cetera. Another thing that you can do is you can actually invite people from this place to like your page who haven't already liked your page. But I just wanted to give you an idea of, you know, here's a page that I've been active with since, oh, here it says 2011. And yet with 3,000 people, only 73 people were reached. Now here's another post, 188 people reached and 30 engagements, but no one commented on it. 4 people shared it, you know, and I can go on and on here. But I kind of want to just give you an idea of like, for any group that is a small business or a one person, a solo entrepreneur, let's say, like I am, using a Facebook page or a business page is not a huge effective use of your time. I'm going to show some things that I think Facebook can be used for that I think are a better use of your time. But I just, once again, I just want to show you, you know, how much engagement out of 3,000 people this page reached. You know, even with like really relevant content, I'm not reaching that many people. Here's another one where I advertised something that Marisha was doing. 24 people were reached. Here's another one, 69 people were reached. So this isn't really doing all that much for anyone, except maybe me for my own ego, in that I am posting what I think is relevant information. And then I also sometimes I'll go back and I'll review what has happened. Something that I do think is useful for a page to have is this little join my list button, and also this sign up button right here. So on every Facebook page, you can have a place where a person can sign up. And if I click on here, it will send me out to a spot where someone can sign up for my newsletter. That to me is useful because then I can reach out to that person over and over again. Whereas right now, when they come to my page, all they're doing is maybe looking at something I've posted, but there isn't much more than that. If I have a newsletter and I send the newsletter out, the person may become engaged more and then also can be asked to do things and take action and that type of thing. Okay, let me just stop and see if anyone's got any questions right now. If you do, you can speak up and say something, or you can put it in the chat and I'll come back to the chat in a little bit. All right.
So you, whoops, I have a question. Do you just click on that join my list and on your business page, or?
Right, so the way this is attached is this one is working through Constant Contact. So I've added this little app to my page. Now, again, if you're a very small business, the possibility that like this, even though it only takes about 5 minutes to set this up, it's probably unlikely that people are going to come to your page at all unless you do some advertising. And even if you did some advertising, you know, the possibility that you're going to get somebody through this join my list onto your list is low. Now I have 3,000 people on this because I've been doing this for probably 10 years, but this is not for everyone. That said, it really just takes a minute to set this up within Constant Contact. It's just a setting that you click on and you kind of link this with your Constant Contact account, and you can see, for instance, what list this is going to within my account and that type of thing.
Okay, so I would do it through MailChimp then.
Right. Mm-hmm. Yep.
Okay.
MailChimp has the exact same thing.
Okay.
Right. Yeah. And all, you know, decent email service providers have this same functionality.
Okay.
Right. So where do we go? Well, actually, before I go there, I want to show you something that is useful. So there's a thing called a Facebook pixel, and everyone who has a Facebook page or fan page, and I'm not saying they're not useful at all. I sort of think of them as yellow pages ads. You know, if someone is on Facebook and they're searching for your business and they go up here into the search bar and they look for you, you know, you want them to be able to find you. So let's say, for instance, I'm looking for a plumber, you know, in Portland. It's probably a long shot that someone would go looking for a plumber in Portland, but if they did, you know, and you were a plumber, you would want to show up in the results of the search, even here on Facebook. And people, believe it or not, do searches like this. I'm going to show you some more searching that I do, but here you can see some of the different people who are plumbers in Portland, and you know, people are asking for plumbing recommendations, etc. So that is a reason to have a business page. Now, the reason I bring up this Facebook pixel idea is what this is it's a little piece of code that you install on your website, and basically it just adds a pixel. A pixel is like a tiny dot. It's basically part of a picture. So for instance, on my website, albertideation.com, I've installed this Facebook pixel. Now, what does that do? What that does is every time somebody is logged into Facebook and they go to your website, Facebook does this tricky thing where it adds you to a list. It's a private list. Facebook knows who has looked at your website. You don't. But what you can do is within the advertising aspect of Facebook is you can target the people who have been to your website and who were logged into Facebook at the same time. I know that's going to sound a little techie, probably to some of you, but it's worth knowing about. And all the information is out there about how to do it. When I did it, I think it took me maybe 5 minutes, and then I never looked back at it again. So when my Facebook pixel is attached to one of my pages. It doesn't really matter which one, but it is attached to like my main Facebook business page. And as you can see, I have a lot of business pages, or I have a lot of these pages. I thought early on that it would be a good idea to have a lot of them. I don't know that it has been all that useful, but once you have one up, I've never really thought that it would make sense to remove them. So I've kept them. I think I have 30. And a thing that maybe is useful is that within Constant Contact, for instance, I can publish out to all of them at once. So I can send my newsletter, for instance, to every one of those pages at once. So here is the my main business page, which is Albert Ideation. And you can see I have 2,400 followers, blah, blah, blah. And again, I don't think of this as a place that's all that useful, but my Facebook pixel is attached to this page. So that if I do advertising off of this page, or actually any other page, I think, I can advertise to those people who have been to my website. Now, obviously, those are, it's sort of a crapshoot in a way, because let's say I'm using the pixel people, is what I call them, and I'm sending out an advertisement. Well, they may or may not see it, obviously, because if you're looking at your news feed, you know, you're looking at it in this moment, and the advertisement may be showing up at some other time. So I'm not a huge fan of Facebook advertising, especially for small businesses. I could talk about that for a while, but that's just my thought about it. I've never really seen much result from it. There are certain businesses I think that can benefit from it, but I am not one of them as far as I can tell. I've tried it a few times, and it has never really proven to bring anybody to me as far as I can tell. Anyway, that's the Facebook pixel. Does anyone have a question about the Facebook pixel? Basically, the idea is that you install it on your website, you make that connection, and then you never have to really think about it again, unless you want to do advertising. And then you might think, okay, a year in, I've had the pixel, I've had a certain amount of web traffic. Now I want to give it a try and put $10 down on red and see if it drives any traffic. So there's some thoughts there. I'm going to come back out of
Albert,
yeah.
What kind of businesses do you feel that the Facebook ads work with?
Sure. I think that, you know, when I look at ads on Facebook that appeal to me, those are the ones that are working. Personally, I have turned off advertising. I'm going to show you how to do that in a second. So I don't see Facebook ads anymore. By the way, welcome John, and welcome Hannah, and all sorts of new people who have shown up since I last saw you. And so yeah, anyway, like what kind of advertising works on you? You know, like for me, lately, I've been suckered into thinking that this one that has to do with you put something in your mouth and you chew it. That looks interesting to me. There's another one that has to do with you put your head back and you lean into like like something that holds your head and you lie back, and I don't know, for some reason those two things, so things that like are about personal improvement or health, are attractive to me, but what's attractive to you may be different. And what kind of business works well on Facebook advertising, I really don't know. I just know what works well on me. Let me see if there are any other questions. And Deborah asked if this is my Facebook business page. Yeah, every one of the pages that I've shown have been. All right. Any other questions before I shoot back? Yeah, go ahead, Victoria.
Thank you. I'm shocked that Facebook would sell ads and then enable people to turn off the ads.
Yeah, well, we'll get to that.
What the hell?
We'll get to that shortly. I'm using a product called Facebook Purity, and I'm going to show you how that works in just a second. Yeah, Facebook, actually it's called Facebook Fluff Busting Purity because they couldn't use the word Facebook in their product, but I really love it. So I will show that to you in a second. And that's more of a, something that's useful for us personally, like one, if you don't want to see advertising, but I'll show you some other aspects of it in a second. Anybody else have any other questions while I'm looking at you all on the screen? Okay. So, all right. Back to the screen share. All right, so we talked about the Facebook pixel. I'm going to go ahead and leave that. And let's see. Okay. So let me just double check my notes, make sure I'm getting through there. Oh yeah. So another thing to notice, just my last little discussion about Facebook pages and kind of why I think that using them doesn't make all that much sense. Here is just your insights. This is a section called insights. By the way, if you're not seeing something that says insights on your screen, please let me know. Hopefully screen share is working perfectly. So here I am looking at the insights for my page. You can see post engagement is down, people reached is down. I don't tend to use it very much. But if I look at my summary for the last month, you know, it might look a little different because I do post to it. When I do send a newsletter out, I do send it out to this page as well. And you can see that I had a little bit more activity. But, you know, it's not great. And I don't know what, you know, I guess great would be my phone ringing off the hook and such. But you can see through this, you know, what is going on in your page, and that will help you perhaps gain a greater understanding about whether the time that you spend on posting to Facebook and to a business page makes sense to you. Also, checking your inbox is probably a good idea. All right, I want to show you this. So it's called Facebook Purity. Trying to see why. Let's see if I do that. There we go. So this is it's also known as fluff busting purity. I can show you their page, which is fluff busting purity. Facebook pushed back and said, hey, you can't call yourself Facebook Purity. We don't like people using our name. But this gives you some idea of what they're about and what they do. But basically, it is a tool that you can install on your browser. I use Chrome browser, and it allows you to basically customize what you will see and what you won't see. So here's a hide section. You can hide when someone's changed their location. You can hide when you've been tagged in a note. You can hide your memories. I kind of like the memories thing, but you can hide that if you want to. You can hide game and app posts, which I love this aspect. I don't see any more people's games. You can use this filter. For instance, if you don't want to see news articles that mention this word or maybe this word, you can do that. And then you just click save and close and you're back to here. But I just wanted you to see that this tool exists because to me, it's really changed my own use of Facebook. And like, for me, it makes it more usable and like sort of user-friendly. So there's all sorts of things that you can adjust. You could spend an hour figuring out what you want to see and not see. So for instance, I never see sponsored box posts. I never see game or app posts. I don't see people I may know. I don't see the little is typing a comment box. Also a really important one for me is, let's see, where is it? You can change it somewhere within here so that you can see what you could see most recent. You could see what's most recent in here instead of, God bless you.
Thank you.
instead of seeing the top posts. So I like that better. I like to be able to see, okay, what's the most recent thing rather than, what does Facebook want to show me? So there's probably 500 different options that you can do here. You can change the colors on things. You can hide various columns, et cetera, et cetera. So that's a little bit about Facebook Purity. Does anyone have questions about Facebook Purity or want me to show any aspect of it? Okay. So what is Facebook useful for? For me, I've really found that the groups for me are really where some of the action is. I use the groups for both promoting causes. This is a cause that I'm interested in and that I'm working on in Portland, which is keeping trees standing. I use this group. There's about 450 people as a way to organize people. But what's great about groups, and I think every business could even consider having a group, is that you can then get into conversations about things. So here's a tool that I reminded people about. Here's an area in town that's being threatened by some development and people are organizing around it to stop it. Here's more information about this. But let's see, let me see if I can find a group that's more business oriented. And so what the groups are great for is networking, here's a great group. So this is the Monteville Neighborhood Community Group. If your business is one that benefits from having local people involved, so this is one where people are talking about, kind of like on Nextdoor, they are talking about, whatever they're talking about. It could be homeschooling, it could be, someone's not doing well, it could be, complaints about this or that. But what's interesting about it is it's also a place where you can post about your business. So for instance, there's also a search function in the group, which is fantastic. So I'm going to look up hauling and see if there's anybody that does like dump runs. So my friend Janice is listed here, and she takes people's stuff and she brings it to the dump for them. So, I don't know that anyone in this group has a similar kind of business, but you can see that if you're wanting to have interaction with people who live around you, being part of one of these neighborhood community groups is a good thing. So we have one in the neighborhood I'm in. I also wanted to show you a different group that is also very interactive. It's called Buy Nothing. And, if you're giving all of your things away for free, this group's for you. But it's also a way to acquire things as well. People are giving away bags and bottles and offering up kitchen things and all sorts of stuff like that. But what's great about a group, again, is the engagement. So it's, people posting something and then people having conversation about it. In terms of like really a business group, then let's say I might look at this group. Actually, no, I'm going to figure out, not that one. So yeah, I'm not, well, I'll show you a different business group that comes to mind. So this is a group of people who are thinking about how to make Zoom calls better, how to facilitate better, how to go deeper with each other, and yeah. So this is for event organizers, community builders, educators, and as you can see, somebody posts here, and then usually there's like a bunch of responses and people jump in and like network with each other. So their groups are great for networking. They're great for, oh, now I remember one that I wanted to show. So here's another one that's real active. It's called CMX Hub, and it's for people who are community leaders and community builders. So here's, you know, an example. So if someone's posting, and then boom, you've got just people commenting and responding and interacting with one another. So groups are a great place for you to sort of show off your wares, interact with peers, possibly find people to sell to, possibly find people who you want to buy from. And this one is really, really well organized and managed. In fact, it's called CMX Hub, and I would recommend for anybody who's like trying to think about how to run a Facebook group, this is a good place to be. There's good examples of best practices, but there's also good examples of, you know, watching people who are sort of top of their game interacting with one another. All right. You know, then there's just the simple use of the chat function on Facebook. So that's over here. When I'm using fluff busting purity, I believe it shows up down here, and I get a couple of different options. Like for instance, when you do this, you might not see it in this small way that I'm seeing it, where the people's faces are short, like, or the faces are short and the names are tight together like that. But I tend to like think of, you know, if I'm working on a problem, I might just pull somebody up and start a conversation with them. And, you know, if I'm thinking of them, you know, I might just say hi. But it's also a way to bring people together. Chat is a great way to introduce people to one another. It's a great way to do video chat. So right now, I think my computer is probably taxed out, but if I wanted to, I could start a video chat with a couple of different people and suddenly have 2 or 3 people online where maybe I have a question, maybe I have an issue. If this little green light is on for any of those people, then I can just click on their name and I can click on this camera button and boom, I'm suddenly in a video chat with Amy. And I think most people are just not really aware that this exists, and it's fantastic. I have one video chat, for instance, with my siblings and 3 cousins, and we're called the Kansas City Crew, and there's 6 of us, and if I click this camera, all of a sudden, 1 or all 6 of the people will hop on. It's like a bat button, and it's fantastic. I just really love this aspect, and you could have unlimited number of groups that you have chats with. And, you know, maybe not everybody's ready for a chat in that moment. And, you know, maybe not all 6, and maybe one person's driving and one person's making dinner, etc. But it's a great way to keep in touch with people. And you can easily set one of these up, for instance, for a group of people who are, again, peers in your work, co-workers, however it is you organize your life. I wanted to show you also, by the way, let's see, why don't I stop sharing just for a second and see how we're doing. How to draw people to a Facebook event page, okay? Yeah, Victoria asks, when I talk about Facebook pages, you mean our personal and business pages. So Facebook pages are the business page, like when I was showing you ideation. Personal pages are my personal profile. And you can tell the difference between them usually by things like, on my personal profile, you can't like it. You can just start writing to me, or you can become my friend or whatever. And then, so Elizabeth asked about how to draw people to a Facebook event page. So let's just take a look at that question for a sec, and then I'll come back to where I was going to go. So Facebook events are an interesting thing. I think they used to, you know, obviously when we were having more in-person things, they were being used more. I'm finding that most people who are trying to, let's see, have events, for instance, that people are paying for, or have events that, yeah, or like events like today, you might have noticed that I did a registration process with you. So not only did I want you to get to the event, but I also wanted you to register so that I have a little bit more information about you, so that I can maybe reach back to you about a question you have, or, you know, if you have a particular kind of business that I'm excited to work with, like I want to know some information about you so that I can do whatever it is that we're meant to do together. And, you know, obviously not everybody is meant to work together, and I probably won't work with all of you, but in case I am, now I have your phone number, and now I have your email address, and, you know, I'll be sending you the replay of this, for instance, via email. It's all automated and very pretty easy to do. So in terms of your question though, Elizabeth, how to get somebody to an event, trying to find one that maybe I ran recently. Well, I'll just pull up an event. So here's a couple ways. If I wanted to try to get more people to this event, first of all, I would share it. So I would share as a post. Okay, so I can share this, and I've got 4,000 friends, so me sharing this as a post, you know, means something. So I might say, I love the village. So here's a little bit more information too. If I tag it, that means it will also, people who follow the Village Building Convergence will see this. And so that's one way to attract people to this event. Now that event showed up on my personal page as a post. I can also share it in other places if I want to. I can share it to one of my, like share it in a group. So let's say Beloved is a group that I'm a part of that has 3,000 people in it. And like, I'm gonna just say, hey y'all. Sorry, my screen is a little frozen at the moment. That may not work, okay. Oh, okay, I'm using Grammarly, and Grammarly is deciding. So I'm just gonna say, hey y'all, here's VBC. And once my computer stops, there we go. So that goes out to 3,000 people who may or may not see it. But, you know, I think that the Beloved community are similar people to the people who would attend VBC and who might be interested in knowing more about this event. So that's a way to get more people to the event. Another way, and that's a good segue, is I can click on inviting friends, and then I can invite people, for instance, who've been to a recent event of mine. So here is an event that I had a voting party, and I'm gonna click on select all from that voting party. So I get to invite 500 people, it looks like. That's not always true. But I'm going to invite everybody who was at my voting party, which are also people who I think might be interested in this event. So those are some different ways that you can help promote an event itself. Then, you know, there is going down into the discussion area and, you know, saying why you love the event. Or if you're running the event, Elizabeth, I would recommend, you know, posting frequently on the event and getting your friends to, if they're willing to. Oh, so it's happening tonight. Wow, I didn't realize that. Okay, so, or it's actually, I guess maybe it's been happening for a little while. Okay, so anyway, you know, so saying something here that will also cue your friends who are part of the event, that will give them a notification that you said something. What other ways? Yeah, just posting it, sending it out via your newsletter, etc. All right, I'm going to come back. I can see that there's been some chatting. How to get more friends, and is it important? So Deborah, your question was how to get more friends. Are you talking about friends on Facebook? Where is Deborah? She may have left already. So that's a good question though, whether it's important to get more friends on Facebook or not. I took the approach years ago of basically letting everybody, you know, who didn't look like an obvious spammer from, or, you know, fake account. I basically, if people share a number of friends with me, I will just let them in. And I took that approach thanks to a friend of mine who suggested that as a marketing thing, because, you know, the more people you're connected to, the more, you know, potential eyeballs you'll have on the business that you're running. And for me, it's worked out, but it's not for everybody. It's a bit more impersonal, having a lot of friends on Facebook. You also end up finding people on there who suddenly post something that you're just like, you can't believe that you know anybody that would have posted that. And so then you end up unfriending them and like that. So yes, Deborah, I will be sending a recording. And okay, so Sina asked, how can I bring up the number of my Facebook followers? So again, it's, you know, it's basically just being on Facebook a lot and, you know, both reaching out to people and like being open when people send you a friend request. It can be a tricky thing. And I'm not positive that, I think overall it's been a good thing for me. Like I now have the ability to invite, like you just saw, 300 people to something because I've been running events. So let's say you set up an event and you have invited your 500 people. You can duplicate that event and re-invite the same 500 people. You can also use that list as a group to invite to other things. So, you know, there is an advantage to having a bunch of friends, absolutely. And there can be a downside to it too, in case you are somebody who's like really wants to lead a very private life. That may not be for you because things you do end up bouncing around into places that you may not know about. So I want to show you this one more piece that I think is pretty cool. It's about making friends lists. And when you, I'm going to just walk you through this. So all these things. Okay, so down here under the See More area, under Explore over in this section, ooh, I want this Stubbtown coffee. Down here, you'll see friends lists. So I'm going to click on that. And then you can see different lists that I've made. So Vancouver, Washington, DC, Eugene. Here's one. So I'm going to click on DC. So when I was visiting Washington, DC recently, I met this friend, Megan, but also in DC are, let's see, my brother, Dan. So I can add him to this list. Actually, this is not a great list to use because there's nobody in it. So let me just go back a step. But basically you're starting to see, here's a good one, Ashland. So when I was in Ashland recently, a friend of mine was looking for a place to live and I was just passing through. So I made up a list of 40 people and I created this list, and then I created an event where I added, or I invited all 40 people in and said, hey, my friend Sherry is looking for a place to live. And then also we had other discussions. So when you have a list of people, let's say in Ashland, you can then also see a timeline of their posts. I could see 24 posts. And it's kind of fun. Like if you wanted to, you could have a list of people who are your family, for instance. And you could just see a timeline of your family. If you want to see who's on the list, you can look at it like this. And if you want to add to this list, you can just look at all of your friends, and then you can say, oh, okay, this person also should be on my Ashland list. And it just takes a moment to, well, if you don't have a lot of friends, it will just take you a moment to scroll through your friends and see who you want to add. You can also take people off the list if you want to, you know, because they've moved or whatever. But why is this all useful? Well, these friends lists can be great because you can then do things like what I just talked about. You can create events, or let's say I come to an event and I want to invite my friends from Ashland to an event in Ashland. I can use the friends list as a way to add those people to that event, or invite those people to that event. So that's why friends lists are useful. I have a whole web page that's just about how to do this. But basically, I think you've seen how friends lists works, how friends lists work. And you can see that I use them quite a bit. I have a lot of different friends lists. Here's a group that I made for Maui. I visited Maui for 2 months, and I made a list of people who I met there so that I could invite them to things and tell them about what I was up to. You can also do a post that's just to the people on your Maui list, and only those people would see it. So I know a boat is for sale. I might just tell people about a boat that I know about in Maui. All right, let's see. So some people have to go. Yeah, so I'm going to just do a little wrap up, and then I'll take some more questions. This has been Albert Kaufman giving you some guidance on Facebook today. Hope it's been useful. Keep in touch. So